Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crannk. And today I'm having a chat with Ron Coolen, guitarist, drummer, songwriter, who recently brought out his Rise album March 1st, which has some amazing, amazing guests on it, which we'll talk about. And you also released a single off that, which was for the California bushfires back in 2018, I believe, the Campfire. Was it something like that as well, The Appeal, which we'll talk about as we get into this? But it's an amazing journey you've had in music from what I've read here, back from, could I start right back from the start, early days, when you first started, like you're saying here, that you started playing keyboard first originally?
Yeah, that was my first. Well, actually, in that time when I was young, when you went into music school, uh, anyone before touching any other instrument, you had to play flute. I don't know the theory behind it, but that was just it. But I just never wanted to do that. I said I'm not going to play that flute. It's awful. But and I started keyboard, and the instrument is okay, and I liked it, but I never wanted to. I just hated teachers. That was in school, that was a music school, and I just wasn't fit for being taught or being. So I always wanted to teach myself. So when I went to music school, playing keyboards, and I just didn't like the teacher and being taught, and I quit after 3 years. And then I thought, stop with flutes and stop with keyboards, go and play real instruments. And to me, that always had been the guitar. And so when I think when I was about 12, 13, 14 years old, I don't know exactly, I bought a guitar, started to teach myself. And then I found out I wasn't good enough. So I didn't succeed in playing guitar, although I always wanted to do that, but it just didn't work out. And then I was a few years later, I was with my friends, and they were playing music as well. And they were forming a band, and they already had, and they were missing a drummer. So I said, okay, I'm in, and I'm going to play drums. And I knew that I had a feel for that at that moment, because I always was, when I was sitting, I was always, with my hands and my feet, just playing around. So I guessed I had some feeling for playing drums, and yeah, it appeared I had. So I joined the band as a drummer, and stayed a drummer for almost the rest of my life. I still play it now, but now I've changed back to guitar, since a few years, 5-6 years. So if they now ask me what instrument you play, then I would say I'm a guitarist now. Yep. that has played drums for all of his life.
Or a multi-instrumentalist is what people like to say as well. Always sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting journey, the journey that you've had. I was reading, that you've done a marathon as well. And I find your journey really inspiring. And it's one of those ones, as I was saying just before I press record, it was one of these interviews that I got where I've heard a little of you, and I checked out the Paradise single, I looked into it, and your journey is what I really like, your journey and the way your story has come out. You were saying that you had done a marathon there for Jason Becker there with ALS. And I'm mentioning this because I want to talk about this, because this is one of the key instrumental points, I think, in your life that kind of led up to where you are today. It was the Rise album. Can you tell me a little bit about, the New York Marathon and what Jason Becker and the ALS thing you'd done for him?
Yeah, that some things came together then at that time. We're speaking, I think it was 2008 when I planned to run the New York Marathon. And basically, if you look at me as a person, I always do this kind of stuff, Then this idea of running that marathon came about when we were sitting with friends and having drinks, and on a night that we said, we're going to run the marathon. We're just going to do it. And if we do it, we do it good. So we do New York, because that's the mother of all marathons. So that's what we did. We said, let's run the marathon. And then we started training. But then I said, when I promise to do it, I do it. So, and I didn't have any clue what I engaged in running a marathon, because it's really heavy. But then I do it. And so we started training for the marathon. And what is very common over here, there are many people that run marathons, and most people do it once in their life. And then most people say, okay, when I run a marathon, I combine that with a charity project. So I start collecting money from my friends and say, please support me, and I'm running a marathon and I'm supporting this goal. That's what a lot of people do. So when I decided to run that marathon, and I did the same, thinking of where or for what should I collect money. And that is where Jason came in, since, let's say, I already always have been a fan of Jason, ever since his Cacophony records and his Perpetual Burn album back in the I think it was the 80s. If you see his career path, that went from his first albums, he entered the Dave Lee Roth band, following up on Steve Vai, which was a huge step, and he was, let's say, on the verge of becoming a super world rock star. And then he got ALS, and when that happened, I was on a similar career path, in terms of he had what I wanted. So when it happened to him, I really felt what he must have gone through, because he had everything that I wished I would have had, but didn't have. But I could imagine what it must have been like for him to get ALS at that point in his career. So that came in my thought when I was looking for that charity to support during my marathon. I said, yeah, let's collect money for Jason, because I knew at that point that his health was not that good, and he had huge bills to pay for his medical care. And I thought, yeah, let's get money for him.
Yeah.
And then I set up this. What I did was I set up an auction. Or basically what I did, I approached, at that moment I was very active on MySpace, which was, the old prehistoric social media platform. And I got in touch with a lot of musicians and asked them if you can donate some of your, t-shirts or DVDs or albums or signed posters or whatever. If you are willing to donate, then I will auction them on eBay, and then I collect the proceeds and I give them to Jason. So I thought that's the easiest way to collect a bit more money than just getting a few quid from my family and friends.
Yeah.
And that's what I set up. And then I basically also, I got to know quite some musicians from there, because a lot of these guys, and that was very remarkable, they said, yeah, sure. And I put it in the mail, and I got tons of merchandise, and I auctioned that on eBay, and I sold it, and I was kind of distributing that, getting it from musicians, and then sending it out to the winners, and then collecting the money and sending that to Jason. So I collected
Amazing
quite
cause.
some. Yeah, and I collected quite some money for him, and got some real nice musicians that knew me from this activity.
Yeah, and then that led to the event that you helped co-organise as well for Jason Becker as well, kind of a night of music as well with musicians, and I think that kind of inspired you as well to pick up guitar, didn't it?
Exactly. That's the way how things went, because that night, actually, it was a few days. We had all these guitarists and musicians flying in from all over the world, and then there were a few days of rehearsal. Then there was the gig, and then they all went home across the world again. So I spent a few days with all these guys, and when I saw that all, the rehearsals and having drinks, and I thought, yeah, I need to pick up guitar again. It's so cool.
And that's one of the things, like the story you've just told there, that really inspired me and was like, wow, what a cool story that you went back and you were back like 12 or something whenever you first picked up guitar and you're like, okay, I'm going to be the next Steve Vai or whatever, and I'm going to shred a million miles an hour, and you're like, okay, then this isn't for me, and you put it down. And then you had this journey as well in your life, you know, you've done all these other things, and you'd done the marathon and you were doing your DJ stuff as well. And then you've come back full circle and you've picked up guitar again, and you've at the second part of your life and you've found your passion again and you've ran with it. And for me, that is inspiring beyond words. That is such a cool story, Ron. Really, really cool story.
Yeah, that's very cool to hear that it is inspiring people. It's totally unplanned. It's just happening. You know, it's just, when I wrote it all down because I had this album and wanted and wanted to build my website and tell my story, and I wrote it all down. I thought, you know, if you look at it like that, then it's never, you're never conscious of your, let's say, of your past and of your story. But when you write it all down and you see all these points in time, and there are all kinds of decision points. What am I going to do? Am I going to do it or am I not going to do it? And you know, that's and that at a certain point you see a structure in there.
And the album name Rise, Ron Coolen Rise, I think is just perfect. You look at that story and you come through, and that album, man, can you tell me a little bit about when you started, you know, thinking about, first we'll talk about when you started going in your head, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to start getting some songs together for this. What was that process like, and when did you originally start working towards this?
Yeah, you know, I think after I picked up guitar again, I started, you know, trying again and trying to teach myself, and that went relatively slow in the beginning, in the first years after this Jason festival. But at some point, I had a collection of riffs and licks and ideas, all little bits and pieces. And then came this moment, and I think that was about, in the meantime, it's about 4 years ago, that I had this idea. I said, you know, since I was very actively playing in cover bands at that moment, only playing other people's stuff, which is very nice. Actually, I've been playing AC/DC covers for years, which an AC/DC, you as an Aussie must feel
Malcolm
that.
Young, wasn't it, your part?
Yeah, and basically Malcolm Young is my favorite, you know, because to me he's a drummer on guitar. This rhythm is, you know, it's so good, and that's where things for me came together, because I, having been a drummer for most of my life and then starting playing guitar, I'm really into riffs, you know, and beat, and really the Malcolm Young stuff. My soloing sucks. I cannot play I cannot play solos. I'm really into riffs and rhythm guitar, and Malcolm Young is my hero in that aspect. But then I had, after playing all these other people's and other bands' songs, which is great playing live, but I said, I've never been creative. I've never written my own song. And I've got this, you know, this stack and this bunch of riffs and ideas laying around now. And this is just like deciding to go for the marathon. Now I'm going to write my own song. End to end, you know, with an intro, a chorus, a verse, and a solo, etc. End to end. And then I started doing that, and then I think the first song I had was Big Devil Data, which is also the first song on the album. And I had this structure of the song, and I thought, wow, this is not bad. And I thought, let's do another one. And then I made a second one, and then I made a third one, and then I thought, yeah, you know, I can make an album out of this. I'm just gonna make an album. Let's do 12 songs, and then release it. I had no idea what I started, you know, because releasing an album and doing the mixing and the mastering and promoting it, I had no idea what I started. Had I known, I maybe would not have done it, because it's huge to do it, to launch it. Let's say it's not difficult to launch a product or an album, but it's difficult to launch a good album, and to be successful, to if you want to be successful. That's you know, requires a lot of work and a lot of detailed work. But I think that was 3 years ago that I decided, yeah, now I'm going to make an album. And then I started, this album journey to write more songs. And then I knew, I play some instruments, but I don't do everything. So I can play good solos. I love guitar solos. So I wanted real good guitar solos on it. So I had to find other people to do that. I cannot sing and I cannot write lyrics. So I had to find people to do that, and all the other stuff I did myself. So that's where it basically started.
Yeah, I'm going to go through some of the guests because you just said some of these people that come in. It's amazing, like what you've got on this, man. I'm just going to duck into my little notes here. Keith St. John, I had to dive into this, and like he was saying he's in that Led Zeppelin cover band, unreal vocals. You've got Göran Edman, who's in Yngwie Malmsteen in the early days, Chris Clancy from Mutiny Within wearing scars, Sam Walters, Driven Mad, Christopher Amott from Arch Enemy, Dark Tranquillity, George Lynch, Dokken, Joey Concepcion from Armageddon, Stéphan Forté from Adagio, Thorsten Koehne from Eden's Curse, Steve Lamb, Tygers of Tang, Daniel Verberk from Physical Graffiti, and Johannes Persson, the solo artist. Man, these are some unreal guests, and the album is unreal. I like, that's what I said. This email I got from you, I unpacked it, and this is the thing you're talking. It's hard to get your name out, but these are albums like this are what I'm talking about. You scratch under the surface, and you get albums like this, and you will be blown away. You just got to get off the mainstream path a bit. Can you tell me a little bit about the guests and getting together these amazing guests for this album? Because it's a sign of a great musician that can say, look, okay, and I can't do these parts, I want to get these other guys in to help me fill this album out. It's unreal and very mature, and it's a great album, like a really great album, dude.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's good to hear. That was the most important thing for me, that I was happy, and I'm very critical on my own performance, and but it's so good to hear that other people like it too, and I'm getting a lot of tons of great reviews, and that's so rewarding. That people appreciate the music. It's unreal, totally unreal. Yeah, about the guest, I think after I wrote 6-7 songs, it was a kind of a mixed process. I was writing one song, and then already had other songs finished and searching for guest musicians for those songs, and then writing new songs as well. So it went all together. But initially it was a bit difficult to get musicians because I'm relatively unknown. Let's say I'm unknown to people. So there were a lot of people that I approached, and I started with some Dutch guys approaching them. They thought, yeah, who is this guy? And they were all doing well because there was, they played in bands, and they didn't feel like they had to do guest performance. But, yeah, I don't know this guy, and yeah, I'm busy and I don't have time. And then I thought, I need to start thinking bigger. I need to start go abroad. I need to think global, not just in Holland, because this is how Dutch people are. They are thinking, yeah, I don't know you, so why should I play on your album? Whereas American guys, they are thinking differently. Like they think, yeah, send me the music, and if it's good, yeah, why not? And I'll do it. And so I thought, yeah, I have to think bigger and think global. And actually, what helped is that because of this Jason Becker auction, and I already knew Chris Amott, and Chris and I became kind of friends during the years, friends on a distance. We email regularly, and when Chris tours, we meet and have a drink. And at one of these occasions, when he was touring Europe with Dark Tranquillity, I went to the show and we had a dinner, and then I told him about my album, and he said, "Yeah, can I play a guest solo?" So he was asking me, and he offered it as a help. If it helps, please, can I play a guest solo? I said, "Yeah, sure, of course. please. And so he was the first one first guest that agreed to be on the album. And that was let's say
kill.
Yeah. And the nice part was that when I asked him, he was on tour with Dark Tranquillity, and he had just joined the band, and he was there were two guitarists, and the other guitarist was new as well in the band, but the other guitarist got in the band just little sooner than Chris, and he grabbed all the main solos. He said, I'm gonna play these so live. So Chris was only left with two kind of boring solos for his level, and so he had to play 60 nights in a row. He was playing riffs and two kind of simple solos for his skills. So he went home, and immediately after he went home, he recorded Kill, Kill, Kill. And that solo is furious, so he really had something, that needed to go out, he was playing, for 60 days in a row, kind of boring stuff. And then, he exploded. And so I could hear it in his solo that there was, that he had to let go of a lot of energy. So I was really happy with him to get him on.
We had Sam on vocals for that one as well, Sam Walters from Driven Mad.
Yeah, and at the same time, when Chris asked me, we talked about his guest performance, and I discussed with him as well. I said, I have this trash song, Kill, 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 but I don't want the typical thrash singer. I want something different. And he said, yeah, you should ask Sam, or I can ask Sam for you, because Sam and Chris were playing in a heavy metal band in New York at that time, because Chris was living there. Sam lives in New York, and they were building or forming a new band, and they played it together a couple of times. And Chris said, you should ask Sam, because he has a dark, low voice. He can sing clean. He can scream very high, icy screams. He can grunt. He can basically do everything. So he said, I'll ask him if he wants to do it. So yeah, Sam wanted to do it. So that led to Sam being on the album too. And then kind of what I always did is that I have this huge list of people that I like, and I would love to have hundreds of people on one of my songs, but I also knew that not everyone fits to the song, because I need to be very careful that the guest really adds something to the song, and that his voice or soloing adds to the music. So I was really focusing on which guy do I want to be on, and do his skills add to the song.
Yeah.
So I'm really searching for those musicians, and but it became easier when I could say, I have Chris, I have Sam on the album, so that there was already some reference. And there were actually some guys that I already knew. Stéphan Forté from Adagio, I also knew from the Jason Becker festival.
Yep.
And we kept in touch afterwards as well. So when I asked him, he said he was no problem. Of course, he wanted to do it. Daniel, he plays in a Led Zeppelin tribute band. I think they're Europe's best. And Daniel is really he could be the reincarnation of Jimmy Page, from his playing, from his looks, from his moves on stage is incredible. You just see Jimmy Page. And they're a Dutch band, so I knew him from Holland.
Yep.
I wanted his style of playing in Paradise, because I have a lot of shredding on the album, but the song Paradise doesn't require shredding. Yeah. It needs, the laid back Jimmy Page kind of style. And yeah, that's basically how I puzzled it together, looking for and asking people. And actually of course, I didn't get everyone that I approached. There were also people that said, yeah, it doesn't fit for me, or I don't want to do it. But in the end, I'm really happy with everyone that's on the album. It's incredible.
It's absolutely incredible, and I like how you mentioned that you know, these guests that have come on board, because I know a few Aussie bands here that have had other guests as well, had the same problem. They've got some guests come over. Marco Petrucci's played with Mazikeen. We've had some really big dudes from over US and Europe actually come in and provide guest spots for some of these other bands coming through, and I think they realise it also, you know, helps give them an up, but it keeps them playing as well. It gets their name, and it helps cross promote kind of what they're doing as well. And with this, I actually hadn't heard of Keith St. John, like, and his vocals, dude. I'm going to go back and check out the stuff he's done now. Insane, man. I heard of the other musicians, but I hadn't heard of Keith St. John. And I love the way the album lays out. You've got the Keith St. John tracks in there. You've got the instrumental. Then you come back in with another track from Keith St. John, and then you've got that Kill, 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 and then it kind of initiates the heavier side of the Rise album, man. It is really, really extremely well done, eh? And you should, I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, this is an album that needs to be played. So if you're listening to this and you haven't heard of Ron Coolen, go grab this Rise album and crank it really, really bloody loud. It is good. The neighbours are going to want to hear it too.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So can I talk about the track, the Paradise single? Because you released that one as a single as well, kind of for the campfire appeal as well, didn't you? It was kind of like a fundraising thing as well. Like, and there again, you're just giving it your time, the marathon and everything as well. That's another really cool aspect of you as a musician. Can you tell me about that track and behind that as well?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I don't write lyrics, and I don't write the let's say the vocal melodies.
Yeah.
So when I had Paradise finished, I knew that I had when I had finished the musical part of Paradise, I asked the singer of my AC/DC band. I said, it's a lady. We were singing with a lady in AC/DC cover band. I asked, and she's quite good at writing lyrics, and as well. And I asked her, I said, would you please write a lyric and a basic melody line, because I have this idea. I want to have Keith St. John. I knew already that I wanted to have him. Can you write a basic? Because at that moment when I approached singers, they all said, yeah, I would like to do it, but you give me the lyrics and you give me the melody line, and then I sing it. So my perception at the moment was that was what I had to bring to singers in order to get them on board. So I asked her, can you write a basic, which I can send to Keith, because Keith is the Led Zeppelin kind of Kingdom Come, you know, Oriental style vocalist, and that's what I wanted to have on the album, or on that song. And this lady is very engaged in she's an America freak. She's completely engaged into America. And at that moment that she wrote it, that was when the campfire was there. Was actually actual at that moment, was November 2018. So she picked it up and she wrote about that because it was a huge devastation. And actually, I didn't at that moment pick it up in the news, because it wasn't in the news. It was just, you know, just a small message. Yeah, there are campfires in California and blah, blah, blah. We go talk about other things in press and media here. So no one here knew about this occasion. So then when she came with this lyric and this topic, and she mentioned, I said, yeah, what is that campfire? I don't know. And she told me. And then I went into, I went onto YouTube, and I started, I need to find out, and let's investigate what happened there. And then I found out, whoa, man, what happened here? It's incredible, you know? Huge campfires, complete city, completely devastated, gone, burned to the ground. And it was a real touching story. And I thought, how can it happen that in Holland over here, we don't hear about it? Nothing, you know. We talk shit about, you know, minor things, and such a huge occasion or event gets no attention here in press, and that was so strange. And I really also later I really dived into this into these happenings. I watched hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos and reports from US TV stations on this. So it really made a huge impression on me, what happened there. So I thought, the lyric was good, and then I brought it to Keith, and Keith said, yeah, I'm gonna, of course, but I want to write my own lyrics, and I want to write my own. So I thought, that was not what I heard from all the other vocalists. But he said, now I want to be in control. I want to write my own, rewrite the lyrics. I want to rewrite the melodies, and I have all kinds of ideas how I want this song to sound. And Keith was from another planet.
That would have been really cool for you to come like that with this expectation as well. What you'd heard back home where you are in Holland, and that, and the what you'd got from other musicians to come to Keith and go, hey, look, I got these songs, and he's like, no, I want to be a part, but I want to be able to write and contribute creatively and actually be a part of this album as well with you, Ron. That would have been a really cool feeling as well.
Yeah, it was when he sent his first version of Paradise. He said, I have this please, I send it to you, listen if it's okay. And so I was blown away, totally blown away by his first version that he sent. But if he improved and improved and improved afterwards, and that was the good thing about Keith, because he was so engaged and so committed. He was not just like these session musicians that that play on 2,000 albums, because they get their part, they play it and they sing it and they go to the next. But Keith was really continuously improving on his vocals, on his style, and on very involved in the mixing as well, about how to make it sound and where to get some reverb and where to get some delay. And he said that's how he was very involved in how his voice should end up on the album. Even until the point where he said, I really suggest to do this order of songs on the album. So he was very involved really to the end.
That's great for you as well, having, someone like Keith come along and, help as well with the making of this album, not just, laying down some lyrics and some vocals, but actually fully creatively getting involved. Can I talk about the parts that Chris Clancy, the songs that he's done as well? Because they're unreal, man. Chris Clancy's a great vocalist as well. And, he's from Mutiny Within, wearing scars. And, he's also from one of those bands that just sit under the radar, but it's just extremely bloody good, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And actually, I hadn't heard about Chris Clancy before, but what I was telling you about, I was thinking global and I was thinking big, and sometimes I think too big. So I already had approached. I had these two songs, Stories and From Your Mouth, that I approached Randy Blythe of Lamb of God a few times, because I'm totally into Lamb of God. It's one of my total hero bands, and I really wanted to have Randy Blythe. And I approached him on Instagram through his management and never got a response. But I really felt like I need that voice, and I need that on the album. But never got a response. So when I started looking for, I think I said I need an alternative for Randy, and I had no idea who to approach, but I was searching on YouTube, and then I came across a video on YouTube where it was Chris Clancy. He had this video, and I just came across it, where he was sitting in kind of a closet in his home, and he was doing vocals for "Walk with Me in Hell," the Lamb of God song. And I heard it, and I thought, and I said, "That's Randy Blythe. He's doing exactly that voice." So I thought, I gotta get this guy, and so I listened to more of his stuff, and I found out that he can also sing clean. It's not only grunting, but he can also sing clean in a very, very cool way. And I just approached him, and I looked for him on Facebook, and I approached him through Facebook, and I said, "Are you willing to do a song?" And he said, "Yeah, send it over, and if I like it, then yes, of course." And he was actually very professional as well, because I sent a song, and within I think within 1 or 2 days, I got this rough idea, and he said, "Is this okay?" And I said, "Yeah, is it okay? You know, it's perfect. You know, it's perfect." And also, there was a nice thing even before that, is that for this song Stories, I didn't have a real clue. You know, I knew I wanted a Randy Blythe on the album, and I knew that would fit in From Your Mouth. But Stories, I wasn't sure. I was also thinking of maybe it should be more kind of a rap metal or Fate No More or Mike Patton kind of style that would fit on that song. Just had no idea. And so when I told Chris, you know, I'm thinking about this Mike Patton kind of stuff, he said, "No, then I don't do it. I don't do Mike Patton. If that's what you want, I don't do this song. If you let me go, if you let me do what I think is good, then I'm okay." I said, "Yeah, of course, you know, because who am I to tell Chris Clancy how to sing on a song?" So when I got it back, first ideas, I said, "Yeah, spot on, you know, spot on." And then he had the two songs done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just with lyrics, all, you know, the backing tracks and backing vocals, and very professional. And so yeah, I'm really happy with him. Really, really happy.
Yeah, this overall package is amazing. And like I talk about listening to whole albums a lot, and I do this with a whole ton of interviews. Like, this is an album. Like, when you get an album, like, there's things you aren't going to get on Spotify and, you know, all these digital platforms, that if you buy an album and you immerse yourself in an album, I fully immerse myself in this album, and you take it as a whole, and it takes you on a journey. And there's those things like, yeah, you can take single tracks out of this and listen to them individually. Yeah, there are songs on their own, but to get an album and to immerse yourself into an album, I'm really hoping that art doesn't die, because Rise isn't a great album, man. I want to ask though, where's the best place people can get along and support you? Because for me, it's all about supporting musicians. You know, people getting along, and, you know, I go, yeah, listen to Spotify, but if you like an artist and you really want to support the scene, you got to do more. Buy an album, especially in this time where people, you know, can't play live or get out or whatever. You know, buying albums and support from the fans, buying merch, albums, is essentially the one thing keeping musicians going and their music going.
Yeah. The best way is to support me is to go to my website. It's roncoolen.rocks. And there, anyone can have listen to samples, but they can also buy the album in all kinds of as a CD or as a download or as a bundle, or all kinds of products combinations there. So that's the best way, and actually it's also the reason why I'm the same, like you say. You know, I want to get I want to listen to full albums, A to Z, beginning to end, and in a way, I'm not of the generation that just goes to Spotify, picks one song, and after 20 seconds skip to the next song. You know, that's just not how I grew up listening to music, and that's also the reason why I released it as a total CD first, available as a download and as a physical CD, because I also wanted to have, you know, with a booklet, and you know, that you can actually you can smell it when you unwrap it, and then read the book, you know, when you listen to the music. So that's what I did first, and on the other hand, I'm bringing now, and that's what I mean with when I do single releases, is when I bring a track to Spotify one by one. So in the end, the album will end up on Spotify, but I didn't want to drop it there, you know, completely at one point, because then I know that people will for sure, less and less people will for sure, you know, listen to the whole album, because they just listen to fragments, and yeah, that's not what I prefer.
Yeah, I know. I don't want this. I don't want, you know, I'm going to harp on it. You know, I'm 40 and I'm, you know, same generation as you. But, you know, people, you know, talking about cover art. It's cover art as well. I've got to ask about your cover art, because when you go in and you buy albums, there's things like you're saying. You get that, open up your fresh CD. You got the smell. You got the cover art. You got a little book. You know, you got the song lyrics. You got little notes in there. You got things that you are not going to get listening to
Yeah.
digital content. You know, I've got a killer CD collection, and I've started my record collection now because I'm a mad music nut. You know, that's what it's about for me. Those things that I don't want people to forget, and I harp on it so many times that, you know, it's great to listen to Spotify. Look, you know, we all beat on Spotify, but if you got to support it, dude. And you know, things like your cover art, as I was saying, it's unreal.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and that's what I basically did. I released in such a way as I am used to how I consume.
Yep.
You know, I did as if I had to release to myself, you know, as a listener, and I always looked at art. Cover art is important. What is it? It's you know, that's appealing. I always wanted to have a book, and I'm the same. You know, I was always, you know, looking at the pictures and reading the credits and looking at you know, at the lyrics and who wrote songs and who did what. And so I wanted to have that, you know, because that's how I listened to music for all my life, and I wanted to do exactly the same like that. And so that's why I paid a lot of attention to cover art as well, and you know, how the CD looks. And I could think for days whether it should, you know, it should be opening up or should not, or how this should look like. So yeah,
It is. It's an amazing experience, and you all can get that experience as well when you get out there and grab Ron Coolen's album Rise. I can't recommend this enough. I'm going to put in links for it all, but get along and check out Ron Coolen. The guests on this are unreal. The vocals, the guitars, just everything. You've done an amazing job yourself. The journey is unreal. This has been a really great chat, Ron. I could talk for another half an hour about music easy, but we better let you go. We better let the other people go who are watching this. Ron, massive shout out from Australia. Thank you very much. Before I do sign out, can you do you have any last words, shout outs or thank yous you'd like to add in there?
Yeah, you know, I'm very grateful to people like you, people that support, let's say, real music and in its real form. So I'm very grateful that I could be on your show. So that is a first, and there are more people like you that are willing to support. You know, the best, like you said, I think the best way to pay tribute to my album is to have a listen and sit down and listen to it from end to end. And that would be my biggest reward if people take the time, you know, take the time to listen to music. And I'm not asking to like it, but make up your own mind. But just take the time and listen to it. That would be my biggest reward to get from the fans.
I couldn't say it better myself. Get Ron Coolen's Rise, crank it loud. Ron, absolute pleasure. Thank you, mate. Talk soon, eh?
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.